Welcome everyone, Christine here with the discussion about Elden Ring patch 1.02.1, where they supposedly have implemented some fixes, but it's not enough, I think. So, there are two major issues in Elden Ring. Well, actually, three major issues. One is the mouse sensitivity. So if you're playing with a mouse and keyboard, the way the mouse handles is insane. So if I go to the menu and I put my DPI to a high setting, it's insanely fast. And they've supposedly improved on this, like compared to what was before. But the issue is, they've actually caused more issues than they've resolved. So the mouse still moves incredibly fast for this game to really get a handle for it. So here's the problem with what here was the problem, that your camera control was moving way too fast, even at a mouse sensitivity of 0. But what they've done now is they've lowered that, but they haven't lowered it in every aspect. So in the menu, the mouse still moves incredibly fast. Even at the mouse sensitivity of 0, the mouse still is incredibly fast, way too fast. This is a DPI setting that I used for pretty much everything. Every game, shooters, desktop, strategy game, doesn't matter. I've used even this DPI setting for Dark Souls 3, and it was fine. But for Elden Ring, that DPI setting was incredibly fast. So what they've done is they've lowered the mouse sensitivity when it comes to your camera control. But what they haven't done is they haven't lowered it in the menu. So even if you're trying to find a sweet spot, you really can't, because either you're gonna get the camera control to move too slowly, and I feel like this is like pretty slow, or if you increase the mouse sensitivity, it's not it's going to go too fast in the menus. I mean, it's already going way too fast. Like, by the way, 5 is the default setting, and I still feel this is too fast. Now, why is this a problem, you might ask? Well, there's quite a few sections in this game that do involve mountain combat. There's bosses that, even from the very beginning, do favor mountain combat. The dragon, the tree sentinel, etc., etc. But the problem with mountain combat, your camera control is so fast and so bad that you are not really able to fight effectively. In fact, it makes fighting on a horse an incredibly frustrating experience. Fighting on the ground, when you can lock on between enemies, that's fine, but it does create those issues, especially with mounted combat. So it's a band-aid fix that doesn't really fix anything. Another thing that they've said is that they've reduced the amount of information that the game needs to load when you're entering a new area. And this supposedly will help with the stuttering, though it's not going to fix it. And I'm still getting stuttering right here playing this game. And by the way, I've already been in this area. So what is happening with the stuttering? Why is the game stuttering so much, especially when you're entering new locations? Well, the answer to that question lies in how the game is built. So the game uses, apparently, DirectX 12, and it also has a locked VSync for the engine. The engine can support you disabling VSync, to be clear, but the fact that they've forced you to use VSync, that they're forcing you to use VSync, is causing all kinds of issues to begin with. And the fact that they're using DirectX 12 is causing the stuttering, because what's happening is they didn't implement DirectX 12 in a really good way. Now, DirectX 12 supposedly can provide better performance than DirectX 11. I say supposedly because in pretty much every single title that I've played with DirectX 12 mode, I found that it ran worse than DirectX 11. I can't think of a single game where DirectX 12 for my computer, and a pretty high-end computer, was actually showing performance improvements versus DirectX 11. That's been my experience so far. And what's happening with the stuttering is that the game, and this is something Digital Foundry mentioned, the game is constantly loading information when you enter an area or you're facing a new attack. Like, we just got a stutter there or a slowdown there because it's maybe an attack I haven't seen or I haven't seen that often. So it's loading that, saving it in the cache. Now, there are a couple issues with that. If you reinstall, if you change it from hard drive to hard drive, all that, the game will have to load that again. So DirectX 12 in theory can have better performance. Maybe there are some titles out there that will actually achieve that, but because of the developers did a piss poor job with the implementation of it and the handling of DirectX 12, it ends up running worse. And the third issue, which they have not addressed at all in this game, is that the performance of the game in general is pretty bad. So right now in this area, in this wooded area, and this is not on max settings. This is on an i7 3770K, 32 gigs of RAM that are overclocked to a certain degree, and an RTX 2080 Super. I'm getting FPS drops all the way down to 40, and these happen a lot, especially in the open world. In closed off areas, like if I go here in this specific cave, for instance, if I come down here, I'm not really getting those kind of performance drops, but I am getting those performance drops in the open world area. So 1.02.1 is just a band-aid. The real patch is probably going to take longer. It's not that simple to fix these issues, but they shouldn't have shipped the game in that kind of state. And by the way, it would be nice if, when it comes to these issues, that the wiki wasn't just basically a propaganda page for video games that wasn't willing to post negative stuff, because, yeah, this is a pretty big problem. So these issues, the stuttering due to the shader caching in DirectX 12, the piss poor performance, probably also due to DirectX 12 to some extent, but poor optimization in general, most likely, and the mouse issues, they still remain a problem, a major issue. Now, is the game any good? This is a question. Is the game any good? Well, here's the thing. I've been playing it for, I don't know, a dozen hours, maybe even more, and I am actually enjoying it a great deal. Like, the actual game itself is really, really good. The combat, not necessarily the story, I'm not sold on that yet, but the universe, the combat, the exploration, it does feel pretty solid. They've done a really good job when it comes to that, for the most part. I do feel there's a load of nonsense with some bosses that are difficult to, well, get an attack in because they have such an annoying moveset, but for the most part, the actual game itself is very solid. It's very good. I'm not gonna claim it's the best game I've ever played, like so many other people have said, because I don't think it is. But the real issue with Elden Ring is that these performance issues are really dragging it down by a significant amount, and they shouldn't have released it in such a state. They should have done a better job with optimization. And it's not based on your computer. This game will run poorly on every settings, on all settings, on all kinds of computers. It doesn't matter what type of computer you're using, the game will not run well. That might be a problem. And that's something they need to fix, because this is a game where it's all about precise timing, right? Precise timing, dodging, parrying, blocking, etc. Well, if you can't get those precise timing because you're getting constant frame drops and stuttering during a boss fight, especially the first time when you're seeing an attack, then that's going to kill you a lot, and it's going to frustrate the hell out of you as a player dealing with that. So that is a genuinely big issue with this particular title that they really need to improve upon, really need to fix, and shouldn't have had to begin with. So yeah, the patch it does really nothing. In fact, it may cause more issues, because right now I'm still having to use a low DPI setting. Like if I lower the mouse like I'm trying to balance the mouse sensitivity in between the menus, which are insanely fast, and like they created this issue, like, oh, I now have to balance having an incredibly fast mouse in the menus versus versus slow camera in the game. So I'm trying to balance that out, because if I lower the mouse sensitivity, if I lower my DPI too much right now, my camera is going to actually move too slowly, but it's going to still be too fast in the menus. If I increase the camera speed so that it runs properly in the actual game, then it's going to be a nightmare navigating those menus. So what gives from software? Like, this is the best you could do. I mean, I get it, it's short notice, but couldn't you, account for the fact that you have a different different camera control and mouse sensitivity for your menus as opposed to just your camera control? Clearly, they cannot. Of course, Senior signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.